Hello and welcome to another episode of the FemiNinja Project. And thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And as always, I have a fabulous guest with me today. She is amazing. She is charming, engaging, and I just have fallen in love with her already. Her name is Mary Henderson. She is a transformational leader and internationally recognized personal branding and online business specialist who turned the three loves of her life into a successful business. Having been raised by a serial narcissistic mother, Mary had to overcome multiple challenges and obstacles, which launched her on a 12-year journey to self-love and is now her superpower. She is also the founder and publisher of the fabulous Industry Expert magazine. It is online. I want everybody to go and check it out because it's fantastic. And Mary is also a heart-centered, compassionate, and tenacious professional who helps her clients realize their full potential and discover their own superpower to guide them through their entrepreneurial or life transition journey. Mary, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much for having me. I know we're going to have a lot of fun, you and I together.
Well, we already have, so we're on a roll.
We are.
So, and I know for you, it's really early in the morning, so I really appreciate you being here with me today. It's the middle of my day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I'm just going to turn it over to you so you can tell the audience how you became this online, expert, coach, business strategist, the whole thing. How did that happen?
Cheryl, Steve Jobs once said that, you understand your life by connecting the dots back to front. And, I truly, truly believe in that idea. That notion is so true. We don't understand it at the time, but when you look back at your life and you suddenly recognize all of the things that you have collected and learned along the way, suddenly you pull all of that together, and that does become your vocation, of course, if you choose to do that. My journey with what I do now actually started realistically in year 2000 when I entered the tech industry. It was booming back then. I mean, year 2000, that's where you want it to be. And my career really started then. Prior to that, I was in the media industry for, a few years, and I did, for 10 years, it was not me. Like, media is absolutely not where I want to be. But the tech industry I loved because it's fast, it changes all the time, it's dynamic, it's new, it's innovative, everything that described and matches my personality. And I couldn't have found a better industry. So anyway, I started in the tech industry in 2000. I got the most amazing opportunity. Literally, it was a sliding door moment. I would not be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for that one opportunity. And it was that opportunity where I actually came face to face with personal branding. So could you imagine 23 years ago, when nobody knew what the terminology personal branding was, I actually stepped into and actually called it personal brand because of this one opportunity where I recognized, if I can solve this complex problem, I'm going to command my demand, and I'm going to be known in this industry as the person who can fix these type of complex problems. So lo and behold, I went ahead and I did that. I was so consciously aware of this goal that I really wanted to meet. And I did. And so then I got approached by a tech company in California, and I then got another amazing opportunity. I spent a lot of time in California and LA. I was VP of sales for Asia Pacific for a big tech company. It was wild, like literally wild. But what I recognized in that job is that I took that personal branding knowledge with me to that next company. And I had a really big sales team, like really big. And on my first day, we all got together, and I remember just looking at everybody, and we had this big circle. And I said, and I had butcher paper all over the wall. And I said, what I want you guys to do is I want you to walk to the butcher paper, and I want you to tell me who you are outside of 9 to 5. What are your hobbies? What are your passions? What are your loves? What are your families? Do you love dogs, cats, fashion? Just tell me everything that I need to know about you, because the job description doesn't tell me anything about you. And so I got all of those butcher papers, and I matched the right persona with the right portfolio. And what happened next, Cheryl, was amazing. Could you imagine you're having these, like all these salespeople that come to work, and they come to work and they use language like, oh, I just love coming to work because I can be myself. This is the
Right.
language they were using. So we built that business, which is a startup here in Australia. We acquired another business, which was a $4 million foundation, and we grew that business to 54 million in 48 months. And that was because these salespeople were not salespeople. They were human people. They were human first before their label. Anyway, in 2005, I really wanted to leave. I wanted to start my own business. And I did that. I started my own software company in 2005. I also started another business in 2005. And that was really the start of my entrepreneurial journey. I held my software company for 7 years, and we specifically specialized in building membership systems, so web-based membership systems. And it was for the academic sector. It was amazing, amazing opportunity. I had amazing people. I had cognitive scientists in my business. It was crazy. But,
Wow.
Cheryl, it wasn't what I was meant to do for the rest of my life. It was one of those things where actually I did it because I wanted validation from my parents, like especially, of course, my mother, because I didn't finish my degree. So I was looking for her validation to say, oh, I'm so proud of you being the narcissistic. I'm so proud of you, even though you didn't finish your degree, the D. So that was in my head. So I channeled that energy of being raised with that type of a woman into being tenacious and driven, and I'm going to be successful and all that sort of thing. So I had that for 7 years. And then in 2011, September the 10th, 2011, my second son was born, and I had this amazing experience where I just was like, I just don't want to go back. It's not what I want to do for the rest of my life. And so I resigned from my company 2 weeks later. And my accountant said, I think you're just so hormonal. I think you just need to go home and just rest for a little bit and then come back. You can't just leave this business. I mean, you've got an infrastructure. It's a 7-figure per year business. I mean, people would kill for this. And I just said, I just don't want it. I'm not interested. So thankfully, we merged it with another company, and I was free January the 1st, 2012. I took a 12-month sabbatical, the first time in my adult life that I had never worked. First time ever. So I had this 12-month off, and I was going to do my own version of Eat, Pray, Love, but in my own home. And that's where I engaged a team of mentors, quite literally, because what happened, Cheryl, is I was lost. I had no idea who I was, what I was doing on earth, what my purpose was, what was the meaning of life, all of that stuff. I was stuck in this egoic mind with a whole materialistic life that surrounded me. And I didn't like it. It just was not me at all. And then in 2015 is when I launched my coaching business. So it took me a long time to actually not just get to that place where I wanted to get to, but understand, how do I actually really deliver transformation, not just a solution, but a real transformation. And then from 2015 to today, I've been a full-time coach. That's all I do. And I typically work with industry experts or people who are senior executives transitioning out of corporate, or coaches and consultants who really want to convert their inner wisdom and their outer wisdom, their learned knowledge, their professional knowledge, and their inner wisdom, their hero's journey wisdom, merge that together to create transformational programs. Very big difference. And also, wrap a brand around that. And that's what I've been doing till this day. And there've been many iterations, Cheryl, since I started my coaching business in 2015 to who I am today. It's almost like I'm the same person, but I'm not. I'm just so much more deeper. And, my own hero's journey started in 2012. That was the first cycle of it. I've probably been through, I actually say that I've just come out of a third cycle of my hero's journey, which I completely embrace. And through that, you get to learn so much about yourself because you're a lot more open, etc. So that's kind of like the backstory, if you will. And on a personal level, as you said beautifully, I was raised with a narcissistic, like a serial narcissistic mother. And it was very traumatic. You know, I was carrying a lot of trauma in my body. It was a very, very long, tedious, uh, inner self discovery to actually start to understand, how do I transcend that trauma and use it as my superpower, rather than being angry and holding myself back. That was not an option for me. You know, I really wanted to be able to add value in the world, and you can't add value if you're holding on to anger and pain. So I wanted to understand, how can I transcend this and use this as my superpower, which I think I've successfully done. Of course, everything's a work in progress. I think all of us, we never stop learning and you know, and refining ourselves. But I think that one of the things is that, you know, your personal journey, sometimes if you reframe it, magic really does happen.
You know, there were so many things you've said about your story I just absolutely love. And the one thing that really just really resonated with me when you were talking about putting up the butcher paper and having all of your staff write down what their hobbies, everything they loved, so that you could get to know them at a deeper level as a human being, and that we are above everything else. First and foremost, we are human. We are human beings. We have wants, we have needs, we have desires, we have so much personality. And to frame it that way, all I could think of when you were telling the story was, the staff must have thought you were out of your mind.
Yeah.
At first.
Absolutely. 100%. She's like, they were thinking, what is this woo-woo woman doing in this role?
And what's coming next? What is she going to have us do next? Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's so funny. And then is it talking about the trauma, because, and just see if, put into words, what is a serial narcissist as opposed to a narcissist? I mean, we all know what a narcissist is, but is a serial narcissist somebody who just kind of starts picking up steam and just gets exacerbates the narcissism, or how does that come about?
For me, growing up in that environment, could you imagine waking up every day and being told, you can't be that, you can't do that, you can't have that, why can't you be like this person, why can't you be like that person? My mother was also a serial hypochondriac, so could you imagine this woman who constantly needed the light on her, constantly, 24/7? So anything that happened good to anyone else in our family, it was not allowed. We had to always put the attention onto her. So any goodness, any dream, any thoughts, any passions, any hobbies that I had was just not going to happen. Like, who do you think you are? Like, that's not going to happen. Oh, my dream is to have this. This is my dream, Prince Charming. This is the house I'm going to live in. This is my whole life, all I ever wanted to do, Cheryl, was to sing. That's all I ever wanted to do. And you would think that my parents actually invested in voice training. Like, my voice is professionally trained from the age of 5 to 20. Like, I have had that much voice training that you would think that they would be so encouraging. And I just wanted to go to the College of Arts. Do you remember that show, Fame? Remember that show, Fame?
Oh, yes. I loved it.
So that was my dream, right? That's all I ever wanted to do, dance and sing, nothing else. And so when I had the opportunity in high school to make choices of my path and what university or college I wanted to go, as far as I was concerned, I was only going to the College of Arts. There was no university for me. I'm not academic. I'm a creative person. And so, as in, like, an expressive creative person. And so anyway, so my mum said, that's just not going to happen. Like, her words were, you are not going to prostitute yourself on stage and sing. That's just not going to happen. And so it was traumatizing, painfully traumatizing. And so the thing is that I used my voice. I just realized, that for me, singing was not because I don't think I wanted to become a singer. I think what I wanted to do was self-express the pain in a way where I can transcend it out of my body, because my voice is very strong and very loud. And so when I would sing, there will be so much energy coming out. And I would often think, why is my voice like that? And so there's a lot of power coming out. And I think that's what it was, Cheryl. It was just that pain transcending out through my voice. And and then my voice plays a significant role because throughout my entire 20s, I would literally, and I mean literally, lose my voice every Saturday.
Wow.
Every Saturday. I'm not kidding. This is throughout my entire 20s. So, sorry, I just digressed there. But going back to the serial narcissistic, is that this is a woman who just couldn't handle any form of self-expression or dreams or fulfillment or imagination in another person. That just it was not possible for her to be able to just sit with that and go, wow, that's amazing. Like, what a beautiful, and what would the house look like? And what would your husband look like? And what, and how many children? They just get me into the fantasy. Oh no. And because we couldn't be better than her. And that's really what it came down to. So that to me is my definition of my experience with a narcissist, serial narcissist.
So did you have any siblings?
I had a sister who was younger than me.
Okay. All right. Wow. I keep going back to that. And I even wrote it down as you were saying it, that you lost your voice. And I think that's one of the most unempowering thing that can happen to a human being is to lose your voice and to not be able to express yourself. And I find it fascinating that every Saturday you would literally lose your voice. So I'm wondering, were Saturdays, had they typically been practice days, performance days, rehearsal days? Is there a reason why it was Saturday?
I don't know, Cheryl. I actually can't even answer that myself. I think that maybe it was just because Saturday was, I wasn't at university or at school or at work. I was just kind of at home, and maybe it was just my body just saying, "Oh." I think that what we do is Monday to Friday was the facade. It was like, go, 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 do this, do. And on Saturday, I just found myself not doing. And maybe it was just my body and my soul just saying, please take notice of what's going on. And of course, I wasn't evolved back then to understand what was actually happening. But the thing is that, it was very, very, like it was really painful just losing the voice. And people would say, oh, you've got such a sexy voice. And I'd be like, oh my God, do you actually understand how painful it is not having a voice? So yeah, I think it was just, I mean, looking back now, I personally think it's my soul saying, pay attention to me.
Absolutely.
That's all I can put it down to.
So I just have to ask too, did you take dance classes?
I took dance classes, in my teens and my early years, but not in my 20s. No.
Was it ballet or what form?
No, it was just more modern dance, and it was and it was just more about, as I said before, it's just more about expression. And I do love dancing. Like I love to move my body. But yeah, it was just more modern dance.
Okay. Wow, what a story. There's something else I wanted to ask as well, because, when you keep getting hit with all of that negativity, and especially now since you have your superpower of self-love, and it did take you a 12-year journey to get to that point of self-love. Did you ever have a point of self-loathing?
Oh, Cheryl. Oh my God. Absolutely. I mean, oh my God. I think that because when you're raised in that type of environment, you do start to, you don't realize, but the self-loathing actually starts from a very young age. Because when you get told, no, you can't be that, no, you can't do that, no, you can't have that, who are you then? Oh, seriously, who are you? You are nobody in the eyes of a child, in the eyes of a teenager, even in the eyes of your being in your 20s. Who are you then? So of course you're going to start self-loathing. I mean, my real self-loathing started actually when I was, let me see now, it would have been maybe 20, maybe even 21, but around that age, where I stopped eating. I started to become seriously bulimic. I was heading towards this path of becoming anorexic. Like it was just,
Mhm.
it was destructive in the highest degree. In fact, my entire 20s was destruction
Mhm.
at the highest level. You know, the people I attracted, the danger I got myself into. I mean, it was just incredible. And that self-loathing doesn't necessarily, you know, look like, you know, self-harm. You know, it
Mhm.
could just look, it's just thoughts and beliefs. That's
Mhm.
self-loathing. But
Mhm.
also it's the energy field that you create, which
Mhm.
attracts in situations, people, places, circumstances that lead to not just self-destruction, but self-loathing,
Right.
self-loathing. It leads to a dead end guaranteed, or death
Mhm.
or self-destruction. That's the
Mhm.
only way. And so it's interesting to me now looking back how powerful the egoic mind is, because once you start feeding the egoic mind self-loathing and self-hate, it's having a field day. At that point, if you don't understand that, it's going to take you to places you don't want to go.
Mhm. Mhm. I can remember going through something similar, and it was like I couldn't look in the mirror. And
Mm-hmm.
even in ballet class, I mean, I still dance to this day, but in ballet class, one of my teachers told me I had crazy eyes because, they were going all over the place because I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. And that's something that ballet dancers are constantly monitoring themselves and staring at themselves and everything. It's like, yeah, well, thank you for your support. I appreciate that crazy eye comment. I think I'll go take from someone else. Yeah, but that's terrible. And I think that most of us, especially as women, have had some level of experience with self-loathing, no matter what the cause was or, what brought it on. And it's just really got to stop. So how did you find that path from self-loathing to self-love? I mean, I know it took a while. And I also know that you had a mentor.
Yes. Yes, and the thing is that, and the mentor is a very important part of my journey, Cheryl. I actually had my first mentor in my 20s. It was about 25 when I had my first one. Now, he's not he didn't create significant change in my life, but what he did is he opened the door, okay? And it was up to me to walk through that door
Mhm.
and go through that self-discovery phase. So I I've been on that journey for a very long time. You know, I really started at 25, but I was still on the path of self-destruction, if that makes sense. You know, it was
Mhm.
I knew intellectually that there was something wrong. I knew that I had to make changes in my thoughts and beliefs. I understood that academically. I got that. It's
Mhm.
just that I didn't understand at a spiritual level and an emotional level and an egoic level how to transcend that. No one taught me that until until I left until I resigned from my own company. And that
Mhm.
really was where the mentor came in. You know, that's really when my hero's journey really started. And that's when the guide, he was my guide. And he was the most profound person in my journey thus far, because it was through him that it wasn't about self-love that he taught me, as in I'm going to teach you about self-love. It was
Mhm.
more about the unfolding layer by layer of who I am, like really going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. So it was very much around this. And he was a professor in philosophy. So he came from a completely different perspective. He didn't come from the perspective of, here's a modality, just try this and everything's going to be fine. You know, here's 5 books, go and read these and everything's going
Mhm.
to be fine.
Mhm.
He was very stoic. So it was very storytelling, and it was very much like, you know, imagine if this would happen, you know.
Mhm.
So he got my attention through telling me stories, but really what he was doing is telling me about myself. And so, but he did one thing that he did, which was why I do what I do today. You know, he said, what I want you to do is and at that point, Cheryl, by the way, I just want to digress. I was at the lowest point in my life, like literally the lowest point in my life. I can tell you that the first day that I went on this sabbatical, this 12-month sabbatical, I remember sitting on the floor in my bathroom, staring at the mirror. We had a full-length mirror, and looking at myself in the mirror, like looking at my eyes in the mirror. And I just sat there with no clothes on and just broken. I just felt broken and cried for, I don't know how many hours. Maybe it was 4 or 5 hours. I have no idea. But I just sat there and the sobbing would not stop. But I just allowed it. I didn't want to stop it. I just allowed the sobbing to actually take place. There was so much pain in that body. And so just by sobbing, I could see that there was pain that was just blocked. And my mentor, he said, what I want you to do, I want you to journal your life in first person for the first 21 years of your life. And I'm like, I don't know what happened to me at 0. And he said, but you're not writing it. You have to do it in freehand writing, and you allow the soul to write. I'm like, okay. At this point, I'm like, this guy's off this planet. Like, how does the soul write? Because I was thinking of it intellectually. So I was like, okay, I'll try my best. I'll do my best. And he said, and also, you can't write in a pen. You must write in a gray lead pencil. It was just all this stuff. This is amazing, right? He said, because the ancient Kabbalists, they all believe that when you write in lead is metal and it has energy. So whatever you're writing is traveling. I was like, oh my God. So till this day, I only write in pencil. I don't write in a pen. And so anyway, Cheryl, it took me about 2 or 3 weeks because I was so intellectual about it, so linear. And so I would get the journal out and I'd be right, okay, what happened to me at 0? Like, I don't know. I have no idea where to start. And it took weeks. And it was about one early morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning, I just had this urge. I woke up and it was like, right now, you have to open the journal and write now. So as I'm sharing this with you now, I've got goosebumps all over my body. And so I open the journal, Cheryl, I promise you, I get that pencil and my hand starts writing. Not me, my hand starts writing. And I was just writing and writing and writing and writing. I mean, for days. And then, and then he would say, okay, how's your journal going? And I was like, I did it. I started, it happened. And he just started to laugh. And he goes, just continue, just let it come out. Anyway, that writing was so critical because coming from a tech background and also owning a software company, everything for us is zeros and ones. If this happens, then that should happen. That's the mindset of it, when you're writing software. So I read the journal and the entry in the journal. I'm like, where did that come from? Oh my God, so I was like, what is that? Because I was like, where did that come from? But the soul knows. And I took that information, I just highlighted things that stood out for me. And I put it on a Excel spreadsheet. Of course I was going to do that, right?
Of course.
And I put it on an Excel spreadsheet. And then, Cheryl, suddenly I realized, oh my God, like when my life was the worst, this is what was happening. When it was the best, this is what was happening. When I was creative, this is what was happening. So I just could see very clear patterns. And through that exercise, Cheryl, that's how I developed my software that I use now for personal branding, because that was the impetus. And so that mentor, to me, the way I describe him is you get an onion and you just unpeel one layer. So every week and he would have these very ancient chants, which were kind of mantras, but they were very, very, very powerful. And they were in Hebrew. So he would chant, and I'm not joking, my body would shake. Like I would be shaking. The energy of whatever he was doing, something was happening. I can tell you right now. And it was just so powerful because I didn't want to go down a path of self-help. I'd been there, done that, Cheryl. I've got 42,000 boxes in my garage of self-help books, which are going into the rubbish bin anyway. I'm not belittling self-help books because I do believe they open the door. Okay. It's just that you read self-help books and we believe that's the answer. They're not the answer. Actually, they're the worst thing for us because they always lead to a false start. For me, it was going to an academic. Till this day, all my mentors actually are serial academics and researchers because I'm interested in the detail. I want to know, give me the why and the how. Don't give me the this is what I think, or, this is, all regurgitated information that I can Google. Just give me what's in what do you know that I don't know? And that's what I had with him. And so, the depth and the breadth of the knowledge that he transmitted into me. This is a very important word that I've learned along the way. These people are able to transmit their wisdom directly into your soul. And so that was really the beginning of understanding who I truly am. And that was in 2012. 2023, I've grown exponentially and learned so much more since then, to become this version of me. So I think that, mentors are very, very important, when we choose them wisely, because for me, it all comes down to, can this person transmit their wisdom into my soul? Is that possible?
So I just have to ask, as you were going through it, especially at the very beginning, that had to have been difficult. I mean, did you experience some level of grief that you were saying goodbye to who you were as you were transforming yourself, and maybe a little bit of apprehension because you don't know where you're going with this? I mean, I would think that that would be really intimidating to a certain degree.
Well, that's a very good question, because the thing is that I had no idea where I was going. I had no idea what I was going to do for the rest of my life. That was basically the bottom line. I was just I felt like I was at a place of being rebirthed. It's like, okay, this is the beginning. I'm painting my own canvas now. But alongside that, Cheryl, I had another mentor who was an expert in the emotional body. So his work was very deep, very profound, almost shamanic, but amazing. And so I worked with him for 4 years, Cheryl. Could you imagine 4 years of weekly body work, because they had that much trauma, much trauma. So working with the philosopher, the professor in philosophy, and working with Peter and Mark together was just such a perfect fusion.
Wow.
Because on one hand, I was getting this deep, deep, deep knowledge that you cannot buy in a self-help book. I mean, the knowledge that, and the books that he shared with me and gave me, I can't buy those books. Okay. So they're sacred books for me. So and the knowledge in there is not something that I can find in a library or Google. And Peter was so experienced in tapping into the emotional body. Now, when I fused these two together, it wasn't for me understanding what am I going to do for the rest of my life at that point. It was, how do I restore myself to who I'm meant to be? How do I get back in? How do I understand how do I connect with my soul? How do I reconnect with that version of me? And even at that point, Cheryl, I also was not really working on the egoic mind stuff either. Like, that was another part of the journey. At this point, I was only focused on repairing my physical body at a cellular level, because that's where the emotional trauma was living. And so I had to transcend a lot of that and start to make sense of it. It's very confusing when you go on that path, because you're from one reality to another reality, and suddenly you're now starting to learn a lot about yourself. You become highly conscious. Your cognition levels are going through the roof. And so you're starting to, at the same time, Cheryl, you're seeing the world through a completely different lens as well. So now you're suddenly saying, oh my God, like, now I can see how my mum's beliefs and what they say on TV are so aligned. So who's brainwashing who? And so this ancestral lineage of belief system just doesn't end. It goes from one to another while the TV's on in the background. So when I started working on myself, we removed the TV from our house. I have not watched TV since 2012. I have no
Good for
idea.
you.
Absolutely. And it was conscious. Until this day, it's still conscious. I'm not interested, because my mantra now is you must protect your mind and soul at all costs. And knowing what I know what that means. So this uncertainty was so deep and so wide, but my mentors basically just kept on reassuring me, you have to get comfortable being very uncomfortable, because that's where the magic lives. The magic's there. You have to put trust in me. And I did. And I'm so grateful that I did, because out of that, this other version, or the real version of me, started to emerge, the truest version of me. And I'm not even there yet, even though, I mean, I love what I've become. But as I said before, we're all a work in progress. But the uncertainty, I think, is very important when you go on this journey, Cheryl.
And I like the fact that you say it is a journey. It's not a destination. We're not trying to get to a certain destination, because we're constantly changing. Life is constantly changing, and having that sense of interest and curiosity about what's about yourself and how you could improve every aspect of your life.
Well, I think that's the thing, Cheryl. I mean, and there's two words that have come out of that whole experience, even till this day, and that is will and desire. Without will and without desire, why would you want to pursue the road less traveled? Like, why? There's no reason for you to do that. But when you have the will and you have that deep desire to get to the best version of yourself, you're unstoppable, because that's the force, that's the energy you need to help you drive, that drives you, that tenacity to it's not about becoming the best version of you, it's becoming the truest version of you. That's what I've learned. And that they're very different. The truest version of you is what is my soul's desire in this incarnation. That's the truest version of me, right? So, and you have to get to that place to truly understand what your path actually looks like, because I'm here to fulfill my soul's desire in this incarnation. That's what the body's, for me, is for. It's not me, the egoic, physical me, that has the desire. It's the soul that has the desire. And my job as a body is to take the soul to those experiences.
So think about this. If all of us, every human being on earth, would be able to follow that path and find our true self, turn off the TV, could you imagine? We would be living in a completely different world.
Oh, that is just my dream. I mean, this is why I keep saying, this is why I use that language. Wisdom is your currency. Understand it, because I didn't understand that until my own pathway to this moment, because it's the only way we can solve issues of the world. But you're right, Cheryl, the TV has to be turned off, period.
Yeah, turn it off, go outside, listen to the birds singing, and life's going to be a lot better.
Correct. True.
I'm going to go way back in our conversation, because I love what you said about the pencil.
Yes.
Because I love writing with a pencil, and I never knew why. And I don't know what it is. I use a pen as well. I can't type very well. As a matter of fact, I never took typing, which I think is really kind of one of my wonderful paradoxes, is that I'm an author and a writer who doesn't know how to type. Isn't that great? But when I write by hand, I go for the pencil first, because I love to hear the sound of the pencil against the paper, and I just love the feel of it.
Well, you need to, have you heard of the black wing pencils?
Somebody gave me one.
Okay, I buy boxes of them. Okay, and I give them to my clients, because they're the fastest writing pencil, okay, in the world. They are absolutely divine. It's the only pencil that I write with. There's nothing else that I have, because they just write so smoothly and so fast. And I mean, my mentor didn't introduce me to, actually somebody else introduced me to those pencils. And he's like, why do you write with pencils all the time? I love pencils. Well, you don't have black wing, don't you know about black? No, I don't. here's a black wing, take it. And I was like, oh my God, my life's changed, literally. So I was like, I went on the website, I just buy boxes of them. And
Okay, so I'm going to have to go when we're done recording. I'm going to run upstairs where I have my little pencils, and because and check and see if it's a black wing. I even wrote that down because the woman who gave it to me, she's an author. She's written several books. She's working on another one right now, and she's also an artist, and she's 92
yes.
years old.
Oh my God.
So
Wow.
we were out to lunch. There was myself and her and another friend of hers who was probably younger than me. So it was quite the range of ages there.
Yes.
And she
Yes.
was so excited, and she pulled out these pencils, and the other woman went nuts. She was, I love these pencils. And, Sue's like, I love them and the way they write and stuff. And I'm going, okay, you
Oh,
people are
they're
going way too
gorgeous.
crazy over these pencils. And then when I took
They've
it
got
home
a
and I started
flat.
writing it,
See,
yes,
they've got is that the one?
well,
And
mine is black, but it's
yes,
got
I've got
that.
a black one too. But they're gorgeous. This is my black one. You can see this is a shorter
Yeah,
version one.
yes,
But
it
oh,
was well used.
but Cheryl, they're amazing.
Well, I have got to get really haven't used it very much because I need to get a pencil sharpener. And
But
it's
that's
like, oh
your
my
job
gosh,
today.
okay, it's 2023. I still miss the rotary phone, and now I have to go and buy a manual pencil sharpener. I never thought I would, do that.
I love it.
It's pretty funny. Okay, so next question I have for you is, what are the three loves of your life, and how did you turn them into a successful business?
Well, this is actually a great question. Hopefully it'll help someone that's listening today. Often we say, how many times have you heard, Cheryl, people say, I just wish I could find my purpose. I wish I could find my purpose. People say this all the time. And here's what I'm going to say. Your purpose is already inside of you. It already exists. It's just that we've been brainwashed to think that it's outside of us, right? Because this is what happens when you watch Netflix and reality TV, you think that, everything's outside of you, right? So the three loves of my life essentially are the things that I can do with ease and grace, Cheryl. That's it. They're not things that that are difficult for me. They're things that I've learned that are very natural to me. And so when I can merge things that I can do, sales, building, creating membership systems, now we call them coaching programs, and also personal branding, when I can merge those three things together and my personal experience over the top of that, my wisdom, now suddenly I have a lot of inventory, a lot. And so when I look at that inventory, and I do believe that our professional vocation is a big clue to our soul purpose. I do believe that. I feel that we all have to learn knowledge, in a very linear way. That's very important still, because there's skills and abilities. And when we have those skills and abilities and they're natural to us, and you merge that with your passions, your gifts, your talents, your own personal inner wisdom, when you bring all of that together and you fuse that together, as a human, it's our job to say, what is my purpose in that inventory? Using that inventory, what is my purpose with that currency? Because that's all I've got right now. Okay. So when I can look at that as inventory and currency, what is the purpose in that? Who can I serve? Whose life can I change? What business can I change? What problem can I solve? What transformation can I deliver with that inventory? And therein lies your purpose. That becomes the vocation based on the loves of your life, because I can do that with ease and grace, with literally my eyes closed. And that's it. I don't want to bring anything else into the mix. I'm not a weight loss coach. I'm not a breathing coach. I'm not a compassion coach. I'm not a medical doctor. I can't prescribe you medication. These things that I teach are things that I can do with absolute ease and grace. No PowerPoint, no white papers to reference. These are things I know how to do inside out in micro nano detail. And that for me is what I base my entire vocation on, because then I'm not struggling against the grain. Now I'm flowing with life. Everything's moving for me, and the universe is working for me. It's not against me. And that's what I call the loves of my life that has now become my vocation.
Mhm. That's beautiful. I do want to flip the script a little bit and talk about when you're talking about finding that true purpose and how everything does flow and everything is easy and effortless and natural. And if you take
Yes.
that flip side, if you are not living your true purpose, and if you are kind of like fighting against who you really are, that not only makes us miserable in our lives, but it really has a serious impact on our mental and our physical health.
Oh
And that
my
is
God.
disease. I really believe we could be a much healthier society if we did find our own true purpose, if we could really be the singer, the dancer, and let our creative juices flow and find our inner wisdom and our skills and our gifts that we've all got.
I think, Cheryl, that's a very important point you've made. And I think there's not enough emphasis placed on that, because society has trained us from the day we start school to grade ourselves A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. So that's the starting point. That's a disaster already.
Mm-hmm.
The schooling system doesn't teach us to pursue or understand, rather, our spiritual self, our soul,
Mm-hmm.
our emotions, our feelings. We are just taught to regurgitate information, learn things off by heart, and that makes us compliant and obedient people. That's the whole training, isn't it? Really, it's
Mm-hmm.
just about being compliant and obedient at the end of the day. So you're either
Mm-hmm.
going to be a great employee or a really bad one, and so that's a disaster to begin with. So you've got, I would say, 98% of the world population that has a job actually doesn't like their job. It's a
Mm-hmm.
job. It's
Mm-hmm.
something that they do, not something they love.
Mm-hmm.
2% will actually break from that system and say, you know what? I'm going to take a risk. I know I'm not going to become a billionaire in 24 hours like they all
Mm-hmm.
promised me on the internet, and also, oh, hang on a minute, but Kim Kardashian, she just became famous for becoming famous. Maybe I can do that too. So I'll start an Instagram, account. This is not what we're talking about here. That's soulless. Okay. We're talking here about really understanding what is it that we need to pursue, even if it's little by little, that can actually activate the creative genius inside of us, even if it's just a little bit, because that activation is like a ripple effect. Just a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of activation is going to make
Mm-hmm.
profound changes in our life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is why, even when I'm working with especially women, Cheryl, who are still in their senior corporate roles, I always say to them, don't leave until we need to build your contingency plan behind the scenes. You don't leave your
Mm-hmm.
job until you're ready to flip the switch. And the reason I say that, Cheryl, is because I know that by doing what they really want to do behind the scenes, they detach emotionally from their job. So
Mm-hmm.
now they go to their daily job as like, it's like, hey, high five, everybody. And everyone's like, what's happened to her? She was angry yesterday and today she's high fiving everybody. And it's because that the energy pool is no longer in the job. Now it's
Mm-hmm.
in my soul, purpose. I'm actually taking action to activate something so much deeper inside of me that A, is what I really want to do. B, it's going to transform people. And C, and most importantly, contribute to raising consciousness in the world. That's my ultimate, that's what I'm passionate about. And so if we don't activate our soul desire, which essentially is our creative genius,
Mm-hmm.
then what is life about, Cheryl? This is a really important question, because it's not about 9 to 5. It's not, that is not normal. That's an extension of the school system. In fact, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people in corporate are still school kids in adult bodies. Same thing.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if you've ever heard of something called Feldenkrais.
No.
Okay, it's a really sophisticated form of neuromuscular reeducation based on the scientific principle of neuroplasticity, which just means that our minds, our brains, and our nervous systems can change how patterns of moving, sensing, feeling, and thinking during the entire course of our lifetime. And I can't even remember where I was going with this. Oh, yes, I do. We're actually movement specialists. So everything we do, we impact the nervous system and impact and affect change through gentle movement and kind of like play and exploration. And it's just a remarkable method. And when you think about it, there you are. I took the training. It's a 4-year training program. So I am a Feldenkrais practitioner. And the training would consist of, we would meet for 2 weeks full time every 3 months for 4 years. So you're immersing yourself in learning this method and experiencing it at the same time. And, that's why I was smiling so much when you were talking about when you were working with those 2 gentlemen, your 2 mentors, Peter and then the philosophy professor,
Yeah.
because I really kind of understood, been there, done that. It's just so incredibly powerful. And it just gives you a new way of looking at yourself and a new way of moving through life and a new way of learning through life.
Mm,
And when you
mm.
think about it, when we were born and we were very small, how did we learn? We learned by exploring our environment through, play, through movement. I mean, nobody ever taught us how to take these little baby barbells and do these 10 repetitions. Then, okay, put one hand here, move your hip here, and that's how you roll over in your crib. We just learned through exploration and personal experience. And everything, every milestone that we made, everybody's, oh my God, you're wonderful, you're brilliant, look at you, you can roll over, you can sit up, you can walk, you can do this. Everything we did was remarkable until it came time when we were fully ambulatory. And then it was, oh, okay, sit down and shut up because now you're going to learn. And prior to that, our entire lives, learning was through experience.
Yes.
And it wasn't comparing you to other people. It wasn't trying to get that grade. And then all of a sudden, this beautiful world gets shrunk down to, is this what my life is going to be like?
But you're right, Cheryl. It's amazing. I mean, this is what I find, like crazy because of exactly what you've just said. We start off with this being our truest version of ourselves, and slowly we decline. There was a study in the US actually, and they said by the time you get to 25, I think that you're only using about 2% of your, or maybe more, I don't know, it was like 10% of your brain is just like, it just shrinks down. So you're essentially a robot. That's basically what
Right.
what we are. And I find that really, really crazy that, we don't spend that time to go back into self-exploration and start that process again, which is what I was saying before. When I got my mentor in 2012, for me it was like, I'm creating my own canvas here, like I'm
Right.
painting my own canvas. It felt like that, and honestly, it's been like that since 2012. It's like I feel I'm 13, not my age, because I went back and restarted all of that recalibration of who I'm meant to be and how I'm meant to, feel and act and be inquisitive and curious and excited and use my imagination. All that stuff has been amplified because that's who I am. At my core, that's who I am.
And like you said, it was like peeling the onion. But I like to say that I even wrote a blog post about it years ago. It's more like an artichoke, because when you peel an onion, there's still another layer and another layer and another layer, and every layer makes you cry, right? But you peel an artichoke and that's kind of like gnarly and pinchy and thick and kind of those leaves,
Yeah.
and you start peeling away, and then the leaves get a little bit softer, they get a little bit more pliable, they get a little bit more tender, until you peel it all away and you get to the center of the heart.
And yeah, oh, I love that. Oh, that's actually beautiful. I love that. I never thought of that, but that is absolutely perfect. You should write a book about it.
There's another book. I have so many
The
books,
artichoke.
on the docket that I'm writing, and I think that came to me one day, and it was in my Feldenkrais training, because I could feel stuff just falling, off
Wow.
like armor, that I was carrying around for so long. And it was
Wow.
3 o'clock in the morning. That's why another time while I was laughing when you were talking about it, I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm like,
Yeah.
of course you did. That's when all those creative juices are really like spewing out. And that's when I got the idea for the story about the artichoke.
Oh,
And,
wow. That's awesome.
got out of
Awesome.
bed and started writing. And yeah, there was a little blog
Awesome.
post. Yeah.
Awesome. I love it.
It's so funny. Yeah, that well of creativity is just beautiful. And another one question I have for you, as you're going through this process and even where you are right now and how much, how you feel the creativity and the joy and the energy, do you feel lighter?
Oh my God, Cheryl. I mean, I don't even, I always say to people, I just love what I've become. I absolutely love it because the journey has been very, 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 very difficult. As you say, the armor, like when you reflect back, I just think, how did I survive, Cheryl? Like,
I know.
honestly, because that heaviness, that
Mhm.
it's not even the heaviness, Cheryl. You know what the heaviness is? It's not so much the physical heaviness. It's understanding, and this is the power when you understand how the egoic mind plays havoc in our lives and how it takes over. It actually takes over. It's almost like this evil entity that just takes over you.
Mhm.
When you understand how to befriend your egoic mind, so that the egoic mind now becomes my red flag. In other words, it's warning, it gives me warning signs. So
Mhm.
when it starts to play havoc on me, you're not good enough, you're not this, or just this noise in my head, that's an immediate signal for me to say, I need to pay attention to
Mhm.
something inside of me that I need to experience and fully let go of. And lo and
Mhm.
behold, of course it is. It's something that I'm still carrying, that I haven't transcended. And then
Mhm.
you sit with when I sit with my body and I can feel it in my body, then I can start to not just release it, but it's amazing to me that when I do this work now, that I can always connect it back to its origin, like
Mhm.
that immediately. And then what happens is you give it I can reframe it. I can give it a new meaning, which is exactly
Mhm.
what I did with my mum. So instead of
Mhm.
me, at my age today going, oh, I hate her, she's, I'm angry with her, blah, blah, blah. No, I did not do that. What I did instead, and this is my current mentor at the moment, he's like a guru in quantum theory. I mean, he's out there, but he's wonderful. Again, just a crazy academic researcher
Mhm.
who's almost an introvert, but so knowledgeable. And he also taught me this. He said, you can't look at he said, if you look at your past and start labeling it, it actually is going to keep you hostage, because you're creating your own prison. But
Mhm.
could it be that you can reframe things that have happened in your life and say something like, isn't it amazing that my mum made the decision to come into this incarnation to be that person to ensure that I activate my soul desire? Could that be
Mhm.
possible? And when he said that, I immediately, Cheryl, I changed in that moment. Like immediately, Cheryl. I cannot tell you the shift that happened to me, because I see everything like that. So
Mhm.
instead of me, pointing the finger and saying what a bad person, by the way, it's not nice to be bad and unkind, but I can't control if that's what she wants to be. What I can control, though, is the opportunity that it was provided in my lifetime for me to become this version of myself,
Mhm.
have all of this knowledge, all of this wisdom that I can now teach others. I mean, wow, that to
Mhm.
me is just huge and such a gift. So I don't see it like that. And so, it's amazing that when you do that as well, how energetically they shift as well, because you've
Mhm.
let them go. And
Right.
that's that with my relationship with my mother, is there's no remorse, there's no hate, there's no anger, no blame, nothing. It's just a really peaceful, respectful relationship. And I love myself for arriving at that place.
Mhm. So now, Mary, when you do work with clients, do you address all of this as you're working with them so they can, I mean, because it's like such a stretch, I think, to think of, personal branding and, online, business to, because that to me is very, the structured, and the other side, people might be thinking that's kind of woo woo, although it's not. I mean, it's very, very powerful. But I think when somebody's going to be working with, a business strategist or an expert like you are, you know, are they open to that? And do you address that? I mean, because how could you
Oh,
really
yeah.
bring somebody to where they want to be in their business and their life without getting rid of the junk, the trash?
That's right, Cheryl. Well, that this is very important. So, and this is exactly why a lot of coaches don't succeed in their businesses,
Mm.
because they're implementing all the time. So the masculine, the doing, I'm doing, I'm busy, I'm hustling, I'm hustling. And that's great. You need that. Let's not forget that implementation is vitally important in business. Otherwise, you have no business. But then you have to become it. This is different. You've got to become that person. And to become that person means you need to understand when your egoic mind is driving your destiny and when the soul is driving your destiny. So how do you differentiate the both? How do you transcend the emotions that are keeping you hostage because you're so frightened of stepping into that? So I do a lot of this work with my client. This is my energetics is the biggest part that I bring into the mix, because I can teach you how to implement, Cheryl, in very easily. With my eyes closed, we can do it. You and I could spend 2 days together and you can have a full business ready up and going, full on,
Wow.
right? That's easy for me. It's understanding, how does Cheryl become that now? Okay, that's the critical part, because this takes a process of elimination. I measure their consciousness levels. We really go through deep work, because you're not going to manifest the right client if you're vibrating at a very, very low energetic frequency. People don't understand this, Cheryl. They say, why can't I attract clients that have money to buy my program? Because you're not an energetic match to those type of clients, period. Just, we can say whichever way you like, but I'm telling you, I've done this for years and years and years. I see it over and over again. The moment the client shifts their energetics, the clients come. Isn't that weird? So just on that woo-woo thing, my mentor, the one that was working with me on my emotional body, he and I catch up all the time. And 2 years ago, we were on a call and he said, how are things going? I said, things are going amazing. Everything's great, blah, blah, blah. And he just said something to me that just threw me. He said, so listen, he said, you've been on this hero's journey for a long, long, long time, and you've accumulated a lot of wisdom that a lot of people don't get access to. So what are you doing with all of that wisdom? And I said, well, what do you mean? He said, are you giving it to your clients? And I said, I can't do that. They'll think I'm woo-woo. And he said, these are words, Cheryl. This is very powerful. He said, you didn't go through the hero's journey multiple times for you. You did it on behalf of them. You must give that wisdom to them so you can help them transcend their blocks and their limitations and get them back to their soul so that they can take it to their clients, because that's the only way that we're going to raise consciousness in the world. And I was like, wow. And
What
so
a
I got off
wise
that
man.
call, wise man. And I got off that call, Cheryl. I was just sitting with it for weeks. And then in my mastermind group, I was like, okay, guys, just want to kind of run something by you and see if you guys would be open to this. My mentor sort of suggested, and I was really awkward about it. And that's not like me. And they were like, come on, just give it to us. And they're all women, right? So and I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I want to bring all of my wisdoms, all the knowledge and the wisdom I have around energetics, your mind, your ego, your behavior, blah, blah, blah. And oh my God, Cheryl, everyone was like cheering me, saying, you know how many women said, we were waiting for this moment. We were waiting for this moment. I had two that just burst into tears, like just cried. And And the reason they cried, Cheryl, is because I always bring wisdom into the conversation, always. So they would, so each call, I didn't realize that I was already doing it, but not actually declaring it. And so they would be, oh, how do I learn more about that? I want to know more about that. And I'd be like, oh, just go and read this book, maybe just go in. So I would always, outsource it, but never actually bring my own wisdom into it. And then from that day onwards, it's just become a part of who I am. And this is what I say to people. It's not about me teaching you personal branding or how to become the world's best brand and authority and building signature solutions and wrapping lead generation and sales strategies around that. That is so easy. It's actually really easy to do. I said, the hardest part for you is, how do I get clients? That's the hardest part. And to attract clients, yes, you need strategy, but also you need to also understand how you're showing up energetically. And once you understand those two things, then you're going to be unstoppable. And this is a very, 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 very important part of anyone in transition, not just starting a business, also becoming a first-time mom. I mean, just energetics play a big role in our relationships, every aspect of our life.
I'll bet that your clients just absolutely love you.
Yes, we very much have that relationship. I mean, I couldn't believe that on Monday I was running a 3-hour virtual event. I couldn't believe that they all showed up to cheer me on. And it was, for some of them, 4:00 in the morning. And I said it, I'm like, what were you doing on that call? And they were like, we were just there to support you. And I'm like, are you guys crazy? Like, don't you get enough of me two days a week? But I got off that call. I was so moved, Cheryl. I mean, I was moved at a core level, because I thought, how lucky am I? Like, seriously, it was just such an honor. I had so much gratitude, and it just really was just magical. But, we all attract the people that we're meant to be serving. I truly believe that.
And we're not meant to serve everybody.
Absolutely not.
That's a tough lesson or a tough message for a brand new entrepreneur who wants to build their business or their practice and have, their doors just, having clients beating them down. But we're not meant to work with everybody.
We are not. And that is an absolutely very valid point. We need to be seen as omnipresent to the people that we can only serve. And that could be 1,000 people, 5,000 people, 100,000 people. Yes, it could be 1 million people. But to your point, we have already been assigned our tribe. We just need to be open and be ready for them to step into our ecosystem.
Mary, how can people get a hold of you?
Well, you can email me, mary@maryhendersoncoaching.com. I'm across all social media at Mary Henderson Coaching. You can go to my website, maryhendersoncoaching.com.
And I would highly recommend to all my listeners, please do check out Mary's website. It's absolutely amazing. Check out her social media. All of the links are in the show notes, so there's no excuse for not checking her out. And do connect with her. And if you have any questions, if you want to work with her, do email her, because obviously she is an amazing lady, and we all really deserve to live our own true purpose. And we can start at any time. It's never too soon. It's never too late. You're never too young. You're never too old. Do you have any final words or a final pearl of wisdom to drop on us, Mary? You've just been so amazing, and I've loved every bit of this conversation.
Thank you, Cheryl. I just want to say this. We must understand that we are all sitting on a gold mine of intellectual currency. I promise you that. I know that for sure. And with the wisdom currency is in hot demand right now. You take advantage of it, you do something with it, and you go and serve humans or businesses so we can collectively make the world a better place. It's the only way we can raise consciousness. I know that for sure. And also, Cheryl, if anyone does want to have a conversation with me, please log on to maryhendersoncoaching.com/apply and book a 45-minute strategy call with me. It's for free. and I can have, at least we can have that conversation. But to me, the wisdom economy is here, and your currency in the form of intellectual wisdom and learned wisdom through your personal hero's journey is in hot demand right now.
Excellent. Mary, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. This has
Thank you,
been
Cheryl.
wonderful talking to you. And wow, what a story and so much valuable information. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And to my listeners, thank you so much for listening. As always, I really appreciate you. You guys are just wonderful. And please do share this episode with your friends and family, and do give us a 5-star review. And just remember that we can start our hero's journey at any time. Mary is here to help you, because we are living in a true wisdom economy, and it's time to start collecting. And that is the way of the FemiNinja.